Guys, I'm here to get into a character analysis of Apocalypse Now, which is directed by Francis Ford Coppola, released in the year 1979. And main character Martin Sheen, he's just this very disillusioned. He's very battle weary all throughout, as he's a special forces assassin who's defined as something of a passive observer throughout this entire just epic journey, within its internal struggle around the insanity of war. And it kind of feels like he's serving as this main guide as he's just like going through these depths of it. It feels like hell on earth, gradually unfolding more and more upon each visit. It's like a boat trip down a journey down a river, and it seems like this is an extremely surreal take. As it's Francis Ford Coppola's ultimate take on surrealism, as it's kind of just completely exploring how Sheen's breakdown unfolds. He's just extremely dark for then all throughout. It's like you can tell right from the beginning he's on the exact same level of Madden as Marlon Brando, but he just builds all this mystique value, which just makes for such a mysterious character. I mean, and it feels like because Harvey Keitel was originally playing this character, although Coppola kind of got into it and realized this energy was a little too over the top for what he's looking for. She kind of has this minimalism about his character, like he's just kind of been through it all, kind of feeling, and as he's building up to this ultimate sense of madness, as all these bizarre events unfold around him, and it just seems like right from the start, Gene's kind of descending into madness, and it's just further identified. It's like he's just further grasping and understanding it throughout this boat journey, and just into a very haunting, insane sort of island, which Marlon Brando owns practically. Which he brings this. Brando brings in a uniquely unconventional kind of approach to this whole character. He's arrived and he's just apparently on set he was just greatly overweight. And he didn't even like really take the dogs. He just improvised all of it, which actually ends up kind of lending to this powerful, larger than life sort of way. As you can see that Brando's in a place where he prefers the horrors of life over any sense of morality. And Brando's just a study of he's literally like a mad genius who just has this completely twisted kind of piece about him by feeling like he's this king of a jungle compound. And Brando ultimately accepts every bit of the horror around him. Like he's like, you can tell he's been there too long, and it's just way past the point of return. And Frederick Forrest is just a chef from New Orleans who's drafted into the army and gets onto the boat with Sheen. And he often seems like he's just this very emotional kind of contrast with all the other boat crew members. He's very homely, and kind of just completely, he's just there's something, he kind of like lives some simplicity, and this is by far the most challenging, demanding he's faced by a million miles. Albert Hull is just this more disciplined by the book sort of military man who commands the boat. And he often clashes with Sheen as he desires to be kind of the most fatherly kind of figure to the crew. And the mission escalates further into madness. So the chaos kind of escalates into this sort of inability to function, you could say. And Lawrence Fishburne's a cocky sort of character who represents he has the best youthful enthusiasm before the ultimate tragedy strikes. As Fishburne, he was only 14 years old in this project, and apparently he lied about being 17, which it's great because this actually ended up launching his career for life. And Sam Bottoms, he's a surfer character who descends into just complete insanity by way of just being a completely detached observer through this entire journey. He loses his innocence, and he's just a complete space cadet. He just kind of loses himself in this whole project. He starts off kind of as this carefree surfer who just goes through a significant transformation as the surrounding madness drives him insane. It's one of the most profound journeys of a riverboat crew I've ever seen. And then Robert Duvall, he seems like this fearless, kind of larger-than-life sort of military commander who uses surfing music to cope with the absurdity of war. And he's got a really bizarre behavior, which is just like, it feels like a completely insane way of coping with it. But to him, it's like this is just an everyday force, and he's just kind of just in the moment with it. And the film just kind of goes with that equal level of detachment and perspective. And I really enjoy G.D. Spalding, Harrison Ford in the opening scenes of briefing Sheen on the mission. And then Dennis Hopper, he's also just on this unforgettable portrait of just a very unhinged level of madness, which perfectly gets across a lot of chaotic energy. Very frantic, very sort of like an unreliable narrator figure who greets Sheen, the boat crew, as they arrived at Brando's island. He's like this disciple of Brando, and he's this manic example of just kind of the war psychological impact on everyone. This is kind of primarily like a horror perspective on all that. Most of the screenplay was improvised for the scenes, which just lends to a unique extent of just Hopper's personality, his raw chaotic energy kind of unraveling, as Hopper really has this genuine sense of madness and unpredictability, and he kind of just guides Sheen and himself to understanding Brando's rich extent of power and influence on the island, as this all just completely descends into madness within as it goes. As this whole project kind of goes, really.